Hi everyone, my name is Sabrine Johnston. I'm back for another makeup tutorial video. Today I wanted to do something a little bit different. I wanted to do a little bit of a video about color theory. I've had a few questions about, what colors do I use on my face, how do I pick my eyeshadows, and this goes for you guys too, so you know what to pick. So we're going to go through a little bit of color theory. And first of all, I want to explain something to you. This is called the color wheel. We use this in hairdressing all the time. So this is basically like, the Roy G. Biv, blue and yellow make green, kind of on steroids. So this goes to show you what we work with on a daily basis. And this is a really easy way for you guys we're just going to start with eyeshadow today, to pick your eyeshadow. There's two different schools of thought when it comes to eyeshadow, and which colors to get. As you can see, my eyes are a very kind of gray, icy blue, kind of cold and dead like my heart. No, not really. I'm a big softie. But anyhow, so sometimes I like to do different looks. So since my eyes are so cool and kind of like icy and gray, I like to go with kind of a very monochromatic look so I can kind of like stay within that palette. I can go with like a gray, I can go with a really icy green, I can go with a really like icy violet. So again, staying in all of those cool tones. Or I can go with warmer tones, and that's how you really make your eye pop. If you think about, okay, well, my eyes are very cool, very blue, very gray, so we take a look at the color wheel, and so my eyes fall somewhere around here in these blues, in here. So what we do is, in color theory, we go on the opposite side of the color wheel. And you can find this anywhere online. I just printed this one out in like 5 seconds. You just punch in color wheel and look at it, and it gives you all the colors. Sometimes it gives you the colors in like very easy names. This one has a few little different variations and everything, but then you can see the opposing colors are very warm, very kind of burnt tones, browns, maroons, things like that. So you can see gray blue eyes, then you go with a contrasting color, and which will really make it pop in its own different way. So what I'm going to do today that's kind of different, I'm going to show you like eye to eye. One eye, I'm going to do this very gray, neutral, kind of monochromatic approach, and then the other eye, I'm going to go with much more of a burnt, much more of a warmer palette. So you can see kind of like right before you how it can make each eye look totally different. So we are starting with, again, we're going to revisit the Kat Von D Spellbinding palette. I use this in one of my other videos, but I thought this was perfect because it shows, a broad spectrum of colors that you have to choose from. It has both the warm and the cool shades. So let's get going. Okay, as you've seen in my videos before, we start with the lid, and we're going to start with just the flat brush like this. You can see it's a very small brush. You can see kind of like about, in conjunction or in tandem with the size of my fingernails, how big it is. It's very flat. It's a delicate brush. This is the brush that I use to do my lids. And I'm really trying to emphasize on the brushes today because I've had a lot of questions about which brushes I use. And Barbara, you know who you are. So we're going to start with the cool eye first, the cool, smoky, monochromatic, okay? And we're going to do this eye first. We're going to do the left eye. I don't know if you guys can see a little bit of a difference, but this is a little bit of an insight too. One of the things I get done is Botox. And if you kind of refer back to some of my other videos, my brows had started to kind of like sink a little bit. But I've had my Botox done, and I had it done probably about a week ago, and it's really started to kick in. So you can see we do it in a way, let's get the hair out of the way. We do it in a way to immobilize the important muscles. So I can't really frown, so I don't get those kind of 11s as we call them right here, but I still have the mobility with my brows. So then what it does is when we leave these muscles out, it helps kind of like open up the eye because this muscle is still allowed to work, so you have a little expression. But as you can see, the upper part of my forehead isn't doing anything. I usually get like several lines right across my forehead when I lift my brows. So in leaving this muscle out, this muscle overcompensates and it kind of like opens the eye up. So you can see that it's tweaks my eye area and open it up. So, you know, those of us that have a little bit more of a hooded lid, it helps, you know, that helps keep the eye look open and fresh. And also we do down underneath. Like you can see this one's kicked in, this one is still kind of working a little bit. It takes about 2 weeks for it to fully kick in. But you can see like this one I can't fully squint, like bring my eye up. So again, from the lower portion too, it opens the eye up and makes it look a lot bigger. So here we go. I digress. We are going to start with the Kat Von D palette. And we are going to go with one of her lighter colors. One of these very, like, you can see it's a very icy kind of gray toned color. And we are going to put that right on the lid. You can see it looks very light. But as we go through the tutorial, you're going to see that we're going to kind of play around with this and kind of have fun with it. So, okay, go back to that. I know right now I look like Nancy Sinatra and these boots were made for walking, like I'm some throwback to the 60s, but trust me, girl, we will be fierce. So, okay, you can see. Now we get that covering the whole lid. Just patting on. You know, again, just a soft crescent shape. You can see, okay, just the lid is done. Then we are going to go back through with our shadow stipple brush. So you can see this one. It looks like this. It's very rounded on the end. It's not very big. This is a wonderful brush to do your eyeshadow because it really helps push it in. Because the brush is kind of rounded on the tip like that, you can really just push it into the skin and get the pigment to stick. Okay, so what we're going to do is we are going to go, I'm going to show you, even though my eyes are kind of gray-blue, one of my favorite looks that I like to do is kind of like almost like a green color, but it's still within a cool green, so it goes to show you how you can play with color. Okay, here we go. We're going to use this. As you can see, I'm stippling in, and let me show you what the color is. You can see it's this really kind of cool emeraldy green. It's a really fun color, but you can see it's still definitely in that cool palette. So what we're going to do is, again, we stipple it in like that. Okay, then we are going to go up. I'm going to try and do this a little bit slower so you guys can see, you know, how I really do this, how I really get this shape. Okay, and you can see we go down. Once we get above the pupil, we want to start kind of going back down into the eye. So you can see, I kind of draw almost this reverse teardrop shape up above. Okay? Again, just stippling in. When you stipple in and press the shadow into the lid, you have to worry less and less about fallout. Fallout meaning all of the shadow falling down here and just creating a big mess and kind of a raccoon eye. So, here we go. I'm going to kind of bring that into the crease of the lid. Here. Like I said, I'm trying to go a little bit slower today because I've had some feedback and people are like, you go so fast, we don't know what you're doing. So, you know, I forget this is something that I do on a daily basis, so I'm trying to break it down a little bit slower for you so you can see this kind of shape that we've created, like that. Again, looks a little sloppy, doesn't need to be perfect at this point, but you can see we create this kind of like reverse teardrop, and you want to think that we want the apex to be right up here. Again, because we're always wanting to draw the eye up and away to give us that beautiful, almost almond-shaped eye. You know, that's the most ideal. That's our goal, to get this beautiful, drawn-up, almond-shaped eye. You know, so the eye looks very open, very sultry. Okay, so you can see how that's done. We have the very cool color on the lid. Then we're going to go back through, and I have a lot of shimmer on the lid today, so then what I usually like to do, if I have a lot of shimmer, I'm rocking that, I like to go through with a little bit of a light color on the brow bone, but I usually choose one that doesn't have a strong shimmer to it. And in her palette she has two of them. I'm going to go with this lighter one right up here. It's very neutral. The camera is making it look a little bit different. It's a very just soft beigey tone. It's not as white as it's looking on camera. So again, this is the brush that I use for my brow bone. This works very well for me. You can see it's rounded as well, but it has kind of like a very narrow tip. So again, I stipple in like that and then go up. I usually start right up here under the brow on that outside portion, like that, and go back through. Let's get a little bit more on the brush. So you can see that kind of cleans that up a little bit. Going back through kind of defines it, softens those lines. With makeup, so much of makeup is about blending to create these really soft lines. So you can see how that really kind of cleaned that up and softened it. And then you can also go back through and in here and just kind of diffuse that. You can't really see where it starts and stops in here. And I like to kind of play around, go back through. Again, really pat that in. Again, really just going right up to where that crease is. You can see I'm not really going past that. We're going across the lid. You know, and we're not really encroaching in that outer area where we blended in that little bit of kind of gray-green tone. So you can see this look that it gives you. Okay. Now, here is the brush that so many people are talking about. The eyeliner brush. As I explained to you guys before, I never use crayon or pencil liner. I just don't like it. It creates too strong of a line, it goops up your lashes for me, it's a little bit too harsh. I've always used just eyeshadow for my eyeliner. So you can see, again, I'm trying to give you a perspective to see how, so you can see how big it is. You know, it's like a really almost super small pointed version of the stipple brush I used earlier. So again, here's like a tube of mascara, so you can see how big it is, you know. Okay, there we go. Okay, so we're going to go back through, we're going to use that kind of gray-green that we used before, and we're going to draw it under the lashes. We're going under the lashes. So with this sort of look, we're wanting to keep a little bit of kind of softness to the eye. We're not going for a really strong eye. This is a look I do a lot of times during the day. And then I always draw just a little bit in here to create kind of some congruence with the color that's up in here. And again, you can see just getting that little bit of depth back in the crease. It's just a hint of a depth. You know, it's a very soft eye we're doing. Okay, we go in here, continue this, and again we're going below the lash line. You can see here. Okay, let's get a little bit more on the brush. Okay. Then we are going to put a little bit of mascara on. You guys know how to do this, but you can see, just put a little in. I'm not going to get carried away, as I've told you before. I usually put multiple coats on, but we're just going to kind of put a little bit on so you can see the eye kind of come awake. You can see this is a super easy technique. Okay, just a little bit of mascara on. There we go. Again, I usually do mostly the 3/4 of my lid. I don't go all the way into these lashes here because again, I really want to create this illusion of an almond eye. So I concentrate a little bit more on this kind of like outside, shall we say, third of the eye. So you can see I put a little bit in here in the center, but here I don't. I really get much more mascara on there. So you can see that makes a big difference. Now we are going to go through and clean up underneath, so you can see how this is really going to pop. So you can see this gives you a really soft look. I'm trying to look forward, so you guys can see the look. Okay, then we're going to go through with our translucent powder. I use kind of like a bigger fluff brush for that. It's very nice. It's very airy, very light. It's not a super dense brush. So I go through, get a little bit on there on the side of the brush. And go like that, so you can see. And then I start in this inner eye area, almost alongside the nose, if you will. And then I work down. And as you're doing this, you're wanting to be careful that you're not going right over all of that liner that you just put on. And again, you can go back up here. You can see how that kind of cleans that up a little bit. Because a lot of times we have a little bit of pigment in here, even vascularity. You can see there's actually a little bit of a deeper blood vessel that goes in there. So even just here, going in and covering that up a little bit. See how that softens that and brightens that up a little bit? And we haven't even gotten to that eye. That's going to be a whole nother playground on that side. So, as we continue, we go across, I'm using a very gentle light touch as I do this. So again, we're going in and we're kind of cleaning up. Okay, you can see, let's get a little bit more powder on here. Do something like that. Just clean up. And this works really good for me. This is the medium translucent powder by Almay. Again, you don't have to spend a ton of money, when you're doing your makeup. Okay, so you can see that took 17 minutes. I did a slower version for you for, one eye just to break it down so you can see what that does. What a contrast. So we did a very light icy tone on the lid. We did a very gray-green up to here. We did a very neutral color on the brow bone with no shimmer to it. Very simple, gray, icy tone. Now we're going to have some fun, and I thought I would show you the contrast. So what I usually do with my brushes is in between, like if I'm going to do this or anytime I go to apply my makeup, and I just take the brush and I kind of wipe it over. I usually use a little napkin or something like that just to remove any residue that may be on the brush. There wasn't too much on this brush. Okay, so let's get all that makeup off. This eye, we're going to go the extreme contrast. We're going to do something very warm, something very fun, very icy. Well, the contrast of icy, should I say. Okay, so we're going to go with a gold. We're going to go with a really fun gold lid to shimmer. Okay, so you can see it's right over here. It looks like 24 karat gold. Oh yes, how rich. Okay, again, we're using our flat brush. Going in. I'm going to go over the lid. And you can see, even though that this is still in a light color, it creates an incredible amount of shimmer on the lid. Again, we're basically doing the same makeup application as we did on the left eye, but we're doing it in two completely different palettes. Again, gold. Okay, so you can see that's cut in very easily. With this flat brush, it's very easy, and then push into the lash line a little bit, like that. So you can see, wow, what a difference. I'm just going to shut my eyes and go blind for a minute. Okay, so you can see, very different. Very icy, very cool, gold, very warm. And then we are going to go back over, and we are going to use one of her warmest colors over here. We're going to use this kind of maroony shade, to kind of complement that. It's a little bit more of a dramatic color. You know what? Let's mix things up a little bit. We're going to go with this more kind of like burnt brown, so you can see it has a good amount of shimmer to it. That's what I love about some of her colors. They have a really nice soft shimmer that you get on the eye, so you can see what that looks like. So again, we're going to go in with our stipple brush. I'm going to clean that off a little bit, and we're going to stipple that in. Okay, and then we're going to go back up. We're starting at the highest point of the eye, again, kind of diagonally up from the pupil. We're going to find our apex, or the highest point in the crest, and it should be right up there, so you can see. Again, I'm trying to do this a little bit slower so you can see. That's kind of where I start. That should be your highest point. Okay, and then when we get down over to the top of the pupil, that's when we want the color to start encroaching in and coming down seamlessly into the crease. Okay? And then we're going to come around to, again, create that teardrop shape. And again, you can see I'm just pushing this makeup in, pushing it in. So we've used that wonderful Smashbox eyeshadow primer, and it really makes the pigments stick. Okay, there we go. Let's get a little bit more in the crease. Oh, my nose is itching. Sorry about that. Okay. You can see, I think sometimes when you mess with the eye area, the nose gets a little runny. The nose wants to be part of the action. Okay, there we go. Oh. So you can see, here. Yeah, I know we look like Divine from Pink Flamingos, but we will blend that out. You can see this is a very warm brown, a very golden lid. I am so sorry, my nose is running something fierce. My nose is running for the border, girl. Okay, we got to get that stuff under control. So, you can see what a difference. Okay, two completely different eyes. Again, we're going to go back through. We're going to use this lightest color. We're stippling it in. And we're going right under that eyebrow to kind of round that out. Okay, here we go. And then I start to creep down a little bit into the shadow to kind of blend that line so it's not so severe. Go back through. Creates this really soft look. You can see. And then we're going to go back through. You can see I have a little bit of lightness in there here, so we're going to kind of emphasize that. Okay. Oh my God, my nose. Be quiet. Okay, so we are going to go back through with the brown. And we are going to put that under the eye area, again, just under the lashes, and with a very soft, kind of gentle touch. You can see I'm just barely stippling it in. When you're doing your under eye liner with a brush like this, you really don't need a lot of pigment on the brush. I'm very gently stippling it onto the brush, or loading the brush, as we say. So again, we're going in here. And again, under the lash, it creates a little bit more of an open eye if you stay under the lash with this sort of look we're doing. You can see. And then again, like we did on the other side, just do this little outer corner here. Helps make the lashes look a little bit more dense. Okay, So you can see, let's clean that up really quick. You know this part. So again, we're going to take the brush flat like that. And I'm showing you, this is Almay Smart Shade. This is the medium, it's just a translucent powder. That's what it looks like. So very simple, inexpensive product, but this is one of my favorites. Again, we're going to start on the inside corner here. I'm going to go back through. So any little bit of fallout that you may have had, this cleans up really nicely. I like to go down the nose just a little bit, just get a little bit of that shine away. Again, we're using just the flat of the brush. We're going through to clean up. You can see in this outer part. Let's live with the brush. Sometimes when I'm going in to clean up this outer part, I'll angle the brush and the palette a little bit differently because we're going to use a different surface area of the brush. This, we're using the kind of the flat portion of the brush like this. Now this part I want to clean up, so as you can see we're using more of the tip of the brush. So when I go in to kind of reload, I'm going to put the brush at a little bit more of an angle, and you can see load just a little, the brush in a little bit different area. And so we can go in and we can kind of like really cut that and kind of clean that up. And then again we're working down onto the flat of the cheek. And then you can go back through and kind of clean this up a little bit so you can see. And I think what we'll do is we will soften this up just a little bit. I'm going to go back through and kind of put a little bit more lightness in here to almost remove a little bit of the dark, as you can see. So you can see what a complete contrast that does to the eye. Let's put a little bit of mascara on. These are two totally different palettes, but it goes to show you what a difference it can do to the eye. Here, gray, soft, icy. I just look a lot. It's very kind of like summery. And then this one is very warm, complete opposite. But you can see how it affects the eye, how it makes the eye color kind of change and jump out a little bit. So we're going to put a little bit of mascara on. Again. I'm going to spend a lot of time on mascara. You guys know how to do that. Okay, and then I wanted to show you a few tricks on how you can take your look and change it really quick. Okay, so this eye, you can see, strong, very nice, very warm, very cool, very icy. We're not really going to go much into the lower face today. You know how to do blush. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to do that. But I wanted to show you really quick, again, using the stipple brush, a little trick that I have learned. So you can see how this eye looks here and everything. If you go back through with a very dark color, again, I'm using, this is almost like a shimmery black, and we are going to go back up under in the tear line, but we're not going to do the under eye. What you can do is you just take your lid, lift it up, and then draw up under here in the waterline up in your lash line. So what this does is it creates a little bit of depth at the base of your lashes. So that is a great little trick you can do, because when you're doing liner, what you're trying to do is you're trying to make your lashes look more dense, more thick. So you can see how that creates a little bit of, depth at the lash line. Again, we're going to lift that up. We did it on the waterline. Now we're going to go back through and we're really going to we're smudging that between the lashes. Think about, it's almost like you're approaching eyeliner for the upper lid, but coming from the opposite angle. You're coming from underneath. So you can see how that creates that little bit of depth there. It creates a little bit of, again, cat eye, almost like a pseudo-lined eye, but you don't get that heaviness that's on the upper lid. And you can see even just from this eye, a little bit of a difference that it makes. And then we're going to play around and show you if I take the gray green that I used, and I cleaned off the brush, removed that dark color. And then if we take that and we put it inside the waterline, what a contrast that can create. So we go like this, and we go above, and we're smudging it into lashes, into the lash line. You know, this way we can very easily take this look into a little bit more of a dramatic nighttime look. If we go all the way into that lash line. So you can see what that did, that really amped that up. So again, we went up in here with a very dark color, smudge it into the lashes. You can even use the shadow wet if you like. Some people like to do that. So what you do is you dampen the brush with just a little bit of water, and then you dip it into the shadow and wet the shadow, almost like you're using watercolors in a way. You don't want the brush to be too wet. And you can do this with any eyeshadow. It's like an old makeup artist trick. You know, do something like that. And then again with this eye, you know, because we use the brown, let's clean our brush off on our little napkin. And then we're going to go back through. You can see, not really needing to load a lot. You can see what the eye looks like. And then if you go into this waterline on the top, and think about you're smudging it right into the lashes. Right into the lashes. If you could kind of like hit your lash line almost perpendicular, you know, almost like we're hitting the palette. You know, we're straight up and down. Think about doing that right into your lash line. It's going to be straight up and down. So that's a good analogy for you. Again, we're smudging that in like that. You can see what a nice dramatic look that gives. So I'm trying to give you a few looks that kind of, you know, you can do very simple techniques and similar techniques, you know, but what a contrast it can create depending on what palette you choose. You can see eyes are very gray-blue, so this is a very warm palette. You know, this is a very cool palette. And here's another trick, you know, that we can take the eye into a little bit more of a nighttime eye. Again, we're going to go back through with the deeper color. And we're going to close the eye. I'm going to draw right up into that crease. And then we're going to draw it down. So think that you're drawing almost kind of like a triangle. You can see it's this little lower triangle. And so since we smudged that little bit of dark into the lash line, we also can create a little bit more depth. So it takes kind of like your daytime makeup into nighttime makeup. And then we're going to revisit this brush. This is one of my favorite brushes. I showed this in one of my other videos. So you can see how this is looking a little bit messy, so we want to blend that out a little bit. We still want to keep this depth here, but we want to soften that up a little bit. This eye is looking pretty good, nice and soft, so we want to almost create this look here. So you can see it's angled. This is a different type of angle brush. And then it's straight across. So we will take this kind of right here where the dark that we just applied meets that gray-green, and we just kind of smudge it up and blend it. So there you go. You can see, creates a nice amount of depth. And like I said in one of my other videos, you know, we just took both these eyes and took them into a much stronger nighttime look. And the rule with a very strong smoky eye is we want to keep a very soft lip. So this is one of my favorite things. This is by Revlon. And this one, let's see if I can read this one. Oh, Honeydeuce. Oh, so cute, Honeydeuce. And it's 001. I love these. These are kind of like crayons. They wind up, you know, and you can wind them down. They come in matte shades with no shine at all. And then this one actually has a gloss to it. So you'll notice as I put this on, it really doesn't have a lot of shine to it. Go back and hearth. It's nice because I'm using, you can see I'm using the flat, the side of it, like this. Apply it. And then I usually do a little bit with the tip. Like that. And smudge it together. Come through. Arm. And then use the tip to do a little bit more of your line here. Going down, lower. And then you can go, that's why these crayons are so nice. You can go up and draw your lip line. Kind of smudge it in and work it together. And we'll give that a little bit of time to set up. When you first put it on, it's a little bit more matte, and then it kind of comes to life. So this is one of my new blushes that I'm kind of playing with. As you can see, this is kind of like a very soft pink tone, but this is a cream blush. It's a little bit different. You don't apply this with a brush. It's not a powder. It's very dewy, very moist. You can see I've been kind of playing with it. So what you do is just take a little bit on your finger, whatever finger you want to use. You don't have to be picky. And then you just put a few dots along the cheekbone. You know, again, where we would place our blush. And then you just want to kind of like work down and feather down with your hands. This is a nice summer blush because it has a little bit more of a dewy appearance to it, a little bit more of a moist kind of dewy look to the skin, which is nice. We want to create that during the summer. We want our skin to look nice and vibrant, like we've been out in the sun, and it gives the skin a little bit more of a different appearance than a powder brush. You know, a little bit softer. You can see it gives a little bit of sheen, so the skin looks very youthful. You can see as the lip kind of like set up, I have a little bit of shine. It's very soft, very neutral. Now here is another one that my niece turned me on to. Oh my god, we are both huge makeup junkies. So this we got at Walgreens, and girl, this is as cheap as it gets. I had never even heard of this brand. It's Jordana, and it's very similar. It's very similar to the one made by Revlon, you can see. But this is very inexpensive. I'm actually really enjoying these. It comes in a lot of different colors, and it has a little bit more stain to it. That's what my niece was saying to me, you know, has a little stain, so when it wears off, you know, it's really great. So you can see this one is kind of more maroon in tone. So let's just put it on. Let's play so you can see what the colors look like. So here we go. Drawing up the lip line. See, just smudged together. I got a little bit of color up here. It looks like someone slammed the brakes on the bus. You'll know the reference. You'll get it. There we go. So you can see this one is very nice. It's a little bit more of a pop of color. Again, smudged together. Very nice. So this one, let's see. Oh, it's called Cranberry Crush 06. Again, it's by Jordana. This comes from Walgreens. You know, I like to show a little bit of a mixture of products. You know, we use the Kat Von D palette, which is from Sephora. You know, a little bit pricey, but so worth the money because the pigments are amazing. And then, you know, I use Colossal Lash by Maybelline. And then I like to also show you a nice cross section. So this is very expensive, those Jordana products. I've been fooling around with their mascara as well, and that's very good. So here we go. I wanted to do kind of like a little fun kind of tutorial video, show you a little what a difference the palettes can make with doing the same technique, but just on, each eye. So there you go. Very cool, very icy, much warmer. What a difference it can create in how your eye color, plays off of it. And don't forget, get yourself a color wheel. Know your color wheel. Thanks for watching.